All right, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started now. Good morning and happy Thursday. Welcome to part 2 of this 3-part SMC and Pearse Bertam Plus webinar. My name is Josh Baptist. I'm the Sales and Marketing Manager here at Pearse, and I have Nate Cogshell and Joe Butterfield with me. They are application specialists with SMC. So for the first part of the presentation and the last part of the presentation, I'm going to walk through a couple things, and then I'm going to hand it over to them during the middle so they can go so that they can start going through some of the newer products. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Alrighty, so guys, this part of the webinar series is really going to be focused on things that I call back-end technology. It's the things behind the gripper and the end effector on the robot. Things like valves, FRLs, fittings, tubing, vacuum generators, things that you would use not necessarily at the forefront of a robot application, but they have a huge impact on the success of your application nonetheless. SMC has recently released some really exciting new products that are more back-end that this presentation will be focused on. So just a quick recap for those of you who are new. You are currently watching part 2, like I mentioned. Part 1 is on YouTube, so if you want to go watch it after the fact, you can absolutely do that. Part 1 was focused on grippers and end effectors, newer things that SMC has released specifically to cooperate with cobots. If you guys have any questions all along the way, we are more than happy to answer them. There is a questions box on the right-hand side that you guys will see, so feel free to type your questions in as we go along. We will do our best to answer those on the fly, but we'll also circle back and answer them at the very end. So today's agenda, guys, I'm going to go through a very, very fast intro on what a cobot is, because I know a lot of you probably were on the first webinar. Then I'm going to introduce Joe B and Nate C so they can focus on the products that SMC has released. And then if there's time, I'm going to go through a quick overview of PB, and then we'll answer questions. So real fast, guys, I know a few of you may be newbies on the call, so I'm going to go over what a collaborative robot actually is, or how you define a collaborative robot. So what a collaborative robot really is, guys, is an industrial robot for a manufacturing environment that's designed to work around other human beings or other pieces of equipment. And what I mean by that is there's several features that weren't typically included in an industrial robot of yesteryear, right? So in this case, you have torque sensors in each of the joints that can monitor for collisions. So in theory, if this robot is swinging around and hits a human or another piece of equipment, it won't actually cause too much damage. It'll stall out and throw an error. They're designed with low pinch points or reduced pinch points. They're designed with a very easy graphically based user interface for programming reasons. They're typically low cost, and they're typically teachable. And what I mean by teachable is that you can actually press a release button on the robot itself, move the robot around, the path will be recorded, and then you can actually go back and play that path on repeat. So you don't actually have to program it with code. You can just teach it by physically moving it around with your own body language. Applications, again, guys, anything that's 6-axis, that a 6-axis robot would be used for: machine tending, screw driving, packaging, soldering, really any application where you need a human arm, but you can do it with robotics. We are an Omron Techman distributor. We do sell and support Omron Techman robots, which is their collaborative robot in the market. And just real briefly, I'm going to go over what it is that they offer. They offer what I call desktop size robots. They're meant to be mounted on a table or on the wall. They're not really large industrial heavy load lifting style robots. One thing that's unique about the Omron is they come with 3D calibration and landmark built in. So they can take a picture. If you look there on the right-hand side, you'll see in the green square there's a 3D landmark on a workstation. So essentially what they can do is they can take a picture on the fly while in operation. And when they take a picture of that little landmark feature you see there with the TM logo on it, it will automatically orient itself in 3-dimensional space. So no longer is orientation a problem for your application if you need to be in the exact coordinate system every time. In the past, coordinate systems were challenged because if you bump something or move something, the robot could get out of sync and end up causing damage or not completing the process properly. So it really is a cool feature that the Omron Techman has embraced. As far as cost, guys, 35 to 45,000 typically, And with Omron, at least, that includes the robot, the pendant, the controller, really everything you need to kind of get going out of the box, besides some of the end effector stuff and some of the back end stuff. So that's a nice segue into what else do you need? And what else do you need? The quick answer to that is you need end effectors, you need back end pneumatic products, you might need hard guarding. So today's focus is really going to be on the back end pneumatic products that you might use with a pneumatic or an electric end effector. So that being said, I am going to hand things over to Nate Cogshell and Joe Butterfield, who are our two applications engineers, and they're going to pick it up from here. And they're going to start by talking about the EX600 wireless system. Again, Joe and Nate, applications engineers from SMC. They represent the manufacturer. They're extremely talented when it comes to everything SMC. We call them the brain. We call Nate the brain, at least, and Joe's very intelligent as well when it comes to SMC products. And they should be able to pick it up from here and answer any questions we have at the end. So without further ado, Joe and Nate, you are on.
All right. Can everybody see my screen okay?
Yep.
All right, perfect. So my name is Nate Cogshell, BA. I'm an application specialist here at SMC, and I will be presenting on a few products, and then Joe Butterfield will be joining the conversation as well. He is also an application specialist like myself with SMC. As Josh mentioned, we're going to focus on back-end products today. These can also be considered complementary products. Last time we talked heavily about end effector products, grippers, vacuum products, so on and so forth. This time we're going to talk about some of the products that we offer that are complementary solutions to these products that might also have a great application for cobot projects. The first one we're going to talk about is our EX600 wireless system. So basically, a little bit of background on this. Obviously, when you're attaching end effector products, sensor technology, so on and so forth to the end of a robot arm, you've got to have a way to communicate with those devices. And usually that's through some kind of a discrete I/O or field bus connection. Specifically with the field bus connection, though, there's been some issues with having communication cables for Ethernet IP and other field bus communication protocols attached directly to the robot arm. These cables are typically very sensitive to motion, especially repetitive motion, bending and turning. They break very easily, and they are also very costly to replace. So we developed a wireless technology where we can have valve banks and I/O blocks attached directly to the robot arm without a communication wire back to the PLC, but a wireless communication option, so that those units can communicate wirelessly back to the PLC. So this is really the genesis and the basic concept behind our EX600 wireless system. Essentially what we have is a base unit which has a PLC connection, and this base unit communicates wirelessly with all of these remote units. So this base unit would be placed close to the PLC, communication wire, field bus communication wire back to the PLC. It would communicate with these remote units, which would be placed on the robot or the cobot. So we have a variety of different options for remote units. We have this product series, which I'll get into a little bit more detail here in a bit, and then we have these compact wireless units as well. But here is the concept, the overall concept. We have a base unit connected directly to the PLC, and then we've got communication wirelessly to all of these remote devices. So that's an overall view of what we're looking at here. So essentially what we're trying to do here is, number one, less wiring space, less space required for wiring, less time required for wiring. So number one benefit of this is that you can actually resolve the issue of having to spend time to wire a communication cable through the robot, connecting it to the robot. Now you can do it wirelessly, so that eliminates the need for wiring a communication cable through the robot. Simplifies the wiring, obviously, because you don't have as much wiring The other issue is that we can also eliminate the need for wiring in areas that's very difficult, which obviously a robot would be one of those areas where you're bending and twisting the cable constantly. That would be considered an area where it'd be difficult to wire an IO block or a valve bank in. So the wireless option eliminates the need for having that. It also allows you to have some greater flexibility in moving equipment around. Now you don't have to worry about necessarily replacing the communication cable back to the valve bank or the IO block. It's all wireless. So now you can do adds, moves, and changes quicker without having to then account for rewiring the equipment through communication. So basic features of this, the EX600 wireless system has a maximum capability of 1,280 inputs as well as 1,280 outputs. That's both for valves as well as for a variety of input and output equipment. This would be your sensor technologies, things that are receiving inputs from the PLC, but also sending feedback back to the PLC. So this could be pressure sensors, this could be lighter eye sensors, these could be flow sensors, could be actuator position sensors, so on and so forth. These are capable, one base unit, which is the unit that's getting connected to the PLC, is capable of supporting up to 127 remote units. That would be both the traditional units as well as the compact units, which again, we'll talk about that here in a little bit. So you can have up to 127 individual remote units connected to the wireless base. Only 15 of them can be running at any one given time, though. So it takes approximately 250 milliseconds for a remote unit to connect to a base unit. So there's a quick startup time with getting these connected into the system. The communication distance is roughly 10 meters. We have seen some advancement over that on being able to achieve longer distances, but currently we recommend that these devices be placed no more than 10 meters away from the base unit. And the data latency on these is about 5 milliseconds, depending on how many remote units are connected and communicating with the base unit at one given time. So one of the greatest concerns that customers sometimes express with the wireless system and looking at wireless for field bus communication is noise. This product was actually designed for welding robots in an automobile manufacturing facility. So that's where this product was originally implemented. That was the reason for the design on this product. So it is very resistant to noise. We've adopted a radio frequency on the 2.4 gigahertz band for that. We do frequency hopping every 5 milliseconds on these, a total of 79 channels that we're frequency hopping to. And so there's a lot of frequency hopping, so we're constantly switching the actual channel that we're on to help reduce the noise. There's also, because of this, there's some interference. There's a lot of interference reduction from other communication equipment. The reliability on this product series, another question that we get asked quite a bit. This works with 128-bit encryption, which prevents process data manipulation and leak outside the network. It's capable of realizing really strong communication, high level of quality without any kind of interruption in the communication. And it does, because of the limited range, we're only talking about 10 meters worth of range between remote units and the base unit. There's really a very low risk of data being stolen outside the organization. So currently, we have a couple of different products available with the EX600 wireless technology. We have our conventional product, which is based off of our EX600 platform. This would be That would be our base, the base units as well as the remote units. They're all based off of the current EX600 platform, which is essentially our flagship field bus interface product for both I/O as well as valve banks. But in recent times, we've actually improved this product series and introduced some compact units, which are better suited for robot and cobot applications, where you can have I/O on the Omron Robot in a really small platform. These units pull the I/O back and then communicate back to the base unit. Several different options here in terms of both input and output units, as well as discrete I/O and IOLink communication capability. We'll get into a little bit more detail here shortly on IOLink products. Just back to the previous screen, though, one thing that I should mention is currently we are only offering products that work with Ethernet IP and Profinet field bus protocols. We are looking at expanding that here in the near future and bridging the gap with some other field bus protocols, but those are the two supported protocols for the time. So just a couple, another slide here on these compact input and output units. Like I said, we do offer them both as input as well as output devices. We changed the coloring on this, the coloring scheme on these to kind of differentiate between the two. But there's a lot of flexibility and options here within this product line. And the one important thing to note is that these components all integrate. So the traditional EX600 wireless units, as well as these compact wireless units, can all work together in the same wireless network. So you can mix and match these products as required by your application. All right, moving on. So I mentioned IOLink a couple of slides ago. Yes.
Sorry, can I just interrupt you for just 1 second?
Absolutely.
Okay. So the EX600 product, very cool, very cool. Quick question, I get this all the time. Can the transmitter work in an electrical enclosure like a steel painted box, or do you guys have a special product that would allow that to happen?
Yeah, so it's currently not designed to transmit through thick metal material, ferrous material. We are developing some antenna type products that would allow you to place the base unit inside of an electrical cabinet and then have a antenna that's outside the enclosure that can actually communicate with the remote units that are out on the production floor. So that's a product that's currently in development. We don't currently have that, but it is something that is actively being worked on at this point. Any other questions on that, Josh?
Nope, great, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. So moving on, the next group of products we wanted to really focus on is on a couple of IOLink type products that we have. And just to provide a little overview, if you're not familiar with IOLink yet, IOLink is essentially a newer industrial communication protocol. It's worldwide standard I/O technology. So really, it's being used as a potential replacement for I/O units that have previously been out in the marketplace. So this is kind of more along the lines of your sensor technologies, valve technologies, things like that. It is a standards-based communication protocol, so it's not like unlike traditional field bus protocols, which are usually supported by particular manufacturers. Like Allen Bradley supports Ethernet IP, Siemens supports Profinet, so on and so forth. IOLink is completely standards-based, so it is not owned or exclusive to any one single manufacturer. It also works with all of the standard field bus networks that are out there currently. So it is an open platform. Basically, is serial and digital communication. It is bidirectional, so it is sharing information back and forth. It is typical point-to-point device/master type relationship between these devices. Typical wiring is M12 connector with 3 or 5 wire unshielded typically. And the types of data that we're able to obtain from IOLink is the standard process data that we're able to get through normal IO devices. So this would be like your measured values from pressure sensors, flow sensors, outputs from cylinder position sensors, things like that, real-time data and real-time information. But in addition, and outside of what traditional IO is able to bring to the table, IOLink also collects and stores device and service data. So this is going to be parameters and settings for devices, as well as device-specific information, model number, manufacturer, so on and so forth. It's also keeping track of diagnostics on devices, such as operating cycle rates and things like that. It is also keeping track of alarms and events. Any kind of maintenance warnings or special messages are also communicated back and forth between an IOLink master and an IOLink device. So what this gives us is the ability to really bridge the gap with some of the current driving forces behind industrial automation today. This is the concept of smart factory, industry 4.0, and IOTT, the Internet of Things. Basically, we're now able to obtain real-time data from the lowest field device all the way up to the ERP system required for the application. IOLink devices allow us to eliminate unplanned downtime because it's keeping track of diagnostic and cycle rate information. We're actually able to do some predictive analysis, predictive maintenance analysis on devices, determine when we think the product is going to fail and replace it before it actually fails, so we don't necessarily have to experience any downtime in the system when the device goes down. Because we're storing all of the configuration and the setting information on devices, we can actually replace a device, an IOLink device, with the same device, and the settings and the parameters will all get downloaded to that device automatically from the IOLink master. So it really reduces the setup time for new devices. Because of the M12 wiring, it simplifies the wiring, obviously, and we have the ability to monitor and configure devices remotely from the IOLink master. So what's supported here? We're really focusing again on sensors. So this would be any kind of pressure, flow sensors, or sensors for actuators like auto switches and things like that. We can also bridge the gap with some other product series like valves and gap checker product series, but we are going to look at a couple of products that we thought would be most applicable to the cobot and robot automation workspace. So here's just a quick overview on an IOLink system. You've got the PLC here at the top of the system. You've got your IOLink devices down here at the bottom of the system, and in between you've got an IOLink master unit. So this is the unit, the IOLink master, where all of the data on devices is stored, and then it communicates back up to the field bus network to the PLC. So the products that we're going to look at today here related to IOLink are a couple of new products that we recently released. The first one is our ISE20 B-L pressure sensor. These are available for both vacuum as well as positive pressure. It is an IP65 rated device for ingress protection. It does offer a nice display. It's a 2-row display, and we actually have 3 points of data that we can collect and display on that screen at any one given time. In addition to the IOLink capabilities, they do also have on board one switch output. For traditional digital I/O systems, you can wire that output in, and it is selectable between PNP and NPN. What the IOLink features on this product do, though, is it allows you to read the analog value from these. So we can actually obtain analog values directly from these sensors through the IOLink network. You can also get the switch signal. So if you want to do digital set points on it, you can also obtain that output information as well. It is able to read device information and store that in the IOLink master. And it's keeping track of alarms and cycle rates and things like that with this. This product series is a standard product series for us. It's not a special. So this would be something that's readily available off the shelf if it's something that you're interested in, but really designed for keeping track of pressure on systems that may be tied into the cobot, such as grippers and vacuum products.
Hey, Nate,
Yes.
Quick question for you.
Absolutely.
Great. So just a very quick question about IOLink in general, talking about the pressure switch there. So given that this is communicating over a field bus protocol now, is there some latency inherent in reporting back to the PLC the analog or digital signal? Is there an increased delay that occurs because of it?
So that's one of that actually brings up a good point, Josh. One of the areas of confusion about IOLink versus field bus networks is IOLink is actually not field bus. It's more like traditional I/O, except we're able to actually extract and obtain more information now from devices than traditional I/O is able to bring. So it is not, it doesn't have the latency that's traditionally seen in typical field bus devices, because it is really just a replacement for I/O as opposed to a field bus replacement. And it's designed not necessarily to be the backbone protocol of an organization's automation system. It's really designed for these end devices like sensors and things like that. So the issues that have previously been seen with field bus with respect to latency are not represented in these products.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that's a great point. So the delay would come from the Ethernet or EtherCAT protocol on the back end, and not necessarily from the IOLink. That's a great point. I feel like a lot of people in the market, they kind of get confused about IOLink in that regard. So awesome, great, thanks, Ben.
No, a lot of people use IOLink in a lot of different ways, but typically you're still going to have a backbone field bus protocol, field bus network in your environment, and this would be, like I said, predominantly used for sensor technologies, but it can be used for other products as well. But it's typically more to get the information on the devices that are most downstream in the system, where traditionally we haven't been able to obtain as much information as we are for some of the larger systems. So the next product I want to talk about, kind of touched upon it the last time in our presentation last week, but this is our D-MP actuator position sensor. And what this product series does is it allows us to capture position information, real-time position information from a pneumatic actuator. So traditional auto switches, they typically are capturing information on a particular point on the actuator stroke, where it reaches a certain set point, it sends an output, and then that output goes to the PLC so that it can in turn issue another command to another device, so on and so forth. With this actuator position sensor, we're actually able to read where the actuator is at any point in its stroke. Where this benefits us in a cobot environment typically would be seen on like a gripper product, where we're picking up multiple different workpiece shapes and sizes. Being able to read where the finger grippers are in their stroke allows us to make determination on what types of parts we're picking up. We can base those outputs from the sensor on what specific work pieces we're picking up. So it allows our system to be a lot smarter in terms of understanding what it's picking up, what it's holding on to, by having the ability to read the stroke length of the gripper. But it could also be used for traditional pneumatic actuators as well. So this has excellent position repeatability, 0.1 millimeters of position repeatability, which is excellent for pneumatic actuators. Typically, we're not able to get that level of accuracy with pneumatic actuators. This product series allows us to do that. You are able to read these with both an analog output as well as an IOLink output. It does also include 4 switch outputs, and you can use those switched outputs or use the analog feedback that you're receiving from it as well. It is a standard product for us, currently available in 4 different stroke lengths of 25, 50, 100, and 200. We have several different connector types on this. You can get this with flying leads, you can get it with an 8 connector or an M12 connector. Certainly, if you're using this in an IOLink environment, you would typically use this with an M12 connector. But it is, again, a standard product for us. It is readily available in our warehouse in Noblesville. And at this point, we're going to move into our JSY valves, which are our compact valve series. And I'm going to turn the presentation over to Joe Butterfield at this point. He's going to continue the next several slides.
Thanks, Nate, and thanks, Josh, for allowing the old fluid power guy to talk about some newfangled fluid power products. Again, related to the robot and cobot products that we're talking about, it seems that these products are new developments for SMC and are applicable certainly to the discussion. In this case, we're going to start with the JSY valves, a relatively new introduction for SMC. And the primary attraction for these units, in particular for robot cobot applications, is their size to weight efficiency versus the current products. Although SMC's always had very compact valve offerings, the JSY in particular is, as the slide is saying, super compact relative to the existing series. In fact, they are available as pictured here in plug-in style as well as non-plug-in style. The plug-in style allows for a D-sub as shown, or as well as serial communications or field bus offerings, and in fact even IOLink offerings as well, as Nate had discussed. The JSY 1000 series is actually so compact, in fact, that at 6.4 millimeters, the standard fitting size is 4 millimeter or 5/32 offering. In fact, because it's so compact and at 6.4 millimeters, in order to take full advantage of flow, if you want 6 millimeter fittings, one-touch fittings, we actually have to increase the spacing between the valves, and then they become 10 millimeter spacing in order just to get to the larger fitting sizes. As you can see, they're so close together. But this, of course, gives you the advantage of a very compact and lightweight design. Here you see, again, with the use of the connector on the plug-in style. Of course, that can be, as each of the bases are wired with the multi-connector male-female on the back plane, essentially, that you can expand or shrink this manifold as needed in the field. While, of course, the non-plug-in style, you do not have that offering. But if you've got a repeat operation, there are applications where the non-plug-in style, or bar stock type, sometimes referred to, will give you an advantage. So the plug-in style, of course, is reducing your, has the potential to dramatically reduce your wiring with the field bus terminal. And obviously, the non-plug-in is a simple design if you're doing discrete wiring, individually wiring solenoids. But as the non-plug-in style would imply, of course, you have two different solenoids. If you have a double solenoid situation, the wires are coming out both ends of the solenoid. In addition, the dual three-ways are available in either configuration, either the plug-in or the non-plug-in style. And the non-plug-in style dual three-ways, essentially, so each station, including right down to the JSY 1000, is capable of handling two independent three-way valves. So essentially, on a 10-station manifold, as an example, you could have potentially 20 three-way valves, solenoids operating single-acting actuators in a package that's not much more than 64 millimeters long. So again, facilitates very high flow in a very compact package. An illustration of that is this slide here. Essentially, there's potential to dramatically reduce the size. By comparison, we're showing our own VQ series. On the left-hand column, you see the flow, and on the right-hand column, essentially the size and configuration. As you can see, the JSY 1000 is all alone on the left-hand side as far as size, and yet it is equivalent in flow to a VQ 1000 10 millimeter valve. Likewise, the JSY 3000 is comparable in size to the VQ 1000, but in flow to the VQ 2000 and so on. In fact, the VQ 4000 with a CV flow factor of 2.2 is comparable in flow to the JSY 5000, while the JSY 5000 is only a 15 millimeter, 20 millimeter wide valve. So a dramatic increase in the flow. And the non-plug-in style offers the same advantages, although not illustrated here, as far as the overall size configuration. It is important to note that the JSY is only introduced in rubber seal, where the VQ and current SY series are available both in metal seal and rubber seal spool technology. And also the JSY, due to the size reduction and mass decrease, is rated to 0.7 MPa or 100 PSI versus the VQ 1000 or VQ series and SY series are capable of 1 MPa or 145 PSI. But generally speaking, the operating pressure of 100 PSI is more than adequate for most applications. Getting into other product lines, the vacuum series offerings, we've had a lot of introductions and new product introductions of late that are pertinent to your end effector applications we're discussing today. Not the least of which is the ZK2A series multi-stage ejector. The ZK2A is a complete vacuum solution, ideal for end-of-arm tooling because essentially you can incorporate a vacuum ejector, blow-off, control, and the part presence verification via vacuum switch, all in one unit, either in an individual configuration or in a manifold configuration. We even offer the normally open configuration on the supply valve. So this is a safety feature, again, for potentially for robot cobot applications where if you lose power or an e-stop is hit, as long as the air supply continues to the vacuum ejector, then the vacuum will continue to be generated and the part therefore held even without power to the unit. That is an option on the ZK2 series. ZK2A is a revision of the ZK2 previous, and it continues to develop, we continue to develop new options for this. In fact, we've just released on the lower right photo the field bus configuration option for the ZK2. While we previously had the D-sub option for the manifold configuration, we now offer the field bus option. Although currently, in its initial introduction, it is Profinet only in that configuration. As you see, as we release products, as Nate discussed, no doubt this will eventually be offered in other field bus protocols as well as in IOLink Do not have a timeline on those introductions yet, but certainly that will be coming.
Hey, Joe.
Yep.
Very quick question. You know, one thing I hear all the time from some of my good customers up north here, what is the energy saving function? How does that operate? What is the benefit of that in the vacuum ejector products?
The energy saver option I didn't discuss, thanks for bringing that up, Josh, essentially is in the sensor technology that we have, the ZS10 sensor that you see mounted to the end of the ZK2 series vacuum ejector is tied into the supply valve. So long and short of it is, and we have demonstration units that you're aware of, Josh, that we can show that better explain this. And of course, you can see it on our website as well, or link through the PB website to that. Essentially what it does is if you have an application, and this is particularly relevant to robot cobot applications, where you're retrieving a part, you pick up the part or you establish the vacuum, and once you establish the vacuum, the sensor senses that. And if you are transferring the part, but there's a hold before you place the part, if it's a non-porous part, and once you've established vacuum, you turn off the supply so you can save a substantial amount of air consumption by turning off the supply. The sensor will sense if the vacuum drops, the vacuum level drops, and it automatically will turn on the supply to the generator so that you do not lose the part while you're waiting to place. So that, in short, is the energy saver option, and we have that in our larger devices as well. But it's tremendous potential for energy savings on the ZK2 as well as other series we'll talk about coming up. That explanation adequate?
Yes, great. No, thank you, Joe. I feel like that's one great feature of your vacuum ejectors that people often overlook. You know, in robot applications, especially, space is important.
Absolutely. Yep.
So I'm glad we talked about this in the JSY series. You know, every square inch on your panel or in your enclosure matters. And with the vacuum ejector product specifically, with the energy saving function, you know, now you might be able to get away with a smaller vacuum. You might be able to get away with a smaller system because now you're using less air, and you're actually saving energy, which, of course, you know, energy is money, right? So it's a great feature that I feel like many people often overlook.
SMC has and I know this carries through with PB as well. We have a tremendous program regarding energy savings, and that includes in the production of our product and the lowering of the mass. It's also, you know, increasing our efficiencies internally in manufacturing and recycling even. So that carries through to even our ZH ejectors. These are our simple single-stage ejectors. There are advantages to single-stage ejectors that have been around for some time, although both the inline type as well as the box type have expanded and essentially been updated to reduce the size and the volume and increase the efficiency. So that the single stage units typically that you see here, either with exhaust port or with an integral exhaust muffler, are essentially one pump, one pad type design. So while all of our vacuum generator options are available to operate multiple pads, vacuum pads or vacuum cups, essentially these units are so compact that you could literally plug a vacuum pad into the vacuum port, and essentially one pad not establishing a full vacuum will not affect the neighboring pad, as it has its own vacuum ejector. So these can be offered in a manifold configuration just by putting them on a DIN rail or in a bracket. And one of the features of the new design box type is that we've wrapped the muffler material essentially around the corner so that these units can be manifolded tightly together. Previously, when you did that with the box type, our old box type, essentially they had to be spaced apart so that you would not restrict the exhaust flow and reduce the efficiency. Now again, these are single stage ejectors, so they're not quite as effective as the multi-stage ejectors such as the ZK2 or the the ZL series that we're going to look at now. ZL units are multi-stage units, actually three-stage ejector units. So we get a very high flow to weight ratio on these units. Essentially, the ZL 112 has been around for some time, but the ZL 112A has been redesigned for optimizing the efficiency. Still at 100 liters of flow, vacuum flow. And you can just see by the supply port relative to the vacuum port that this unit is tremendously efficient. And with the new all molded body essentially in the ZL 112, it still makes an effective end effector mounted type unit in a very small lightweight package, but with all the functionality of the ZK2A. It gives you a tremendous amount of flow capability for high leakage type products that we can still get out on end of arm tool. The larger sizes are actually, again, can be used for tank systems in this particular case. In other words, if you have a very high leak rate and you can locate these units on end of arm, certainly because they're still very lightweight, or you can put them back at the base of the robot and even pull a vacuum on a tank, as they're available with the same type of energy saving systems that I mentioned earlier for the ZK2 series, so that you can turn on and off the system automatically. It will only consume air while vacuum is being generated to a tank. And then when it's called for downstream, the vacuum can turn back on again. Again, the sensors are built into the actuator, or of course they can be remote as well. The ZL6 actually has up to 600 liters of flow, the ZL3 up to 300 liters flow. So again, considerable increase in efficiency and certainly weight to mass ratio versus previous versions of this unit. The ZL6 you see here, the only difference in size between the ZL3 and the ZL6 is the addition of this muffler, which is standard on the ZL6. Molding is the same for the two, but the ZL6, because it has two series of ejectors internally, the muffler is external, where the ZL3, there's an internal muffler. The ZL3 can add the external muffler as well, if you want to keep that dB even lower.
Hey, Joe, can I just jump in real quick?
Sure.
Great stuff there, man. Really impressive with the ZL series there, how much flow it's able to generate. So guys, just real quick, I did want to just recap in terms of collaborative robots, why a vacuum ejector or a vacuum generator would be used on a collaborative robot application. For example, you may have something that's extremely delicate, where a traditional finger style gripper might actually damage or mar the workpiece. Maybe you're picking up cookies or hard-boiled eggs or something like that, and you can't actually have a finger gripper squishing the workpiece. So you need vacuum to, so these would be used essentially in conjunction with a vacuum cup, right? So you would need a source of vacuum. Maybe you don't have a vacuum pump, but you have a pressure generator of some kind, a compressor of some kind. And by supplying pressure directly to these units, it will allow you to use those vacuum cups to pick up whatever the delicate workpiece is. You might also have a workpiece that's an awkward shape, like bubble wrap or styrofoam or cardboard of some kind, maybe you might be picking up something that's just it's just too impractical to use a finger style gripper. So that's why we're going over these vacuum products. I just want to make sure that we kind of go back, recap the benefits for everyone. If there's any newbies on the call who are unfamiliar with vacuum, vacuum is a great way to pick and locate and place objects without actually having to use a traditional style gripper. So moving along.
Thanks, Josh. Yep, that's a good reference to, you should have referenced the previous webinar number 1 if you weren't able to attend. Obviously, we have other ZX products with the vacuum generator, such as similar to the ZH, integrated into the end effector, such as the ZXP that Nate talked about on the first presentation. Obviously, that information is available from Josh or PB or from SMC, of course, as well.
Yep, of course. Yep.
Oops. Apologies. Okay. Back to the air prep modules. The air prep, this is a reference to our new ACD series air prep combinations. Essentially, the AC-D is a new modular design. And essentially, you'll notice that the filter, regulator, lubricator, if used, very seldom used in applications these days, but still offered for applications where it's required. Everything is in line. The labels are all in line. Essentially, it is still compatible with our current series of AC-B products, but the AC-D offers a lot of new components, including a internal or a modular flow switch. We call it a flow switch. It's really a flow meter that offers the capability and feedback of monitoring your flow, and with IOLink as standard offering, as standard output capabilities, so that you can monitor the flow consumption of all your components downstream that are consuming air, be it actuators, vacuum generators, or otherwise. Integral to this unit, again, is also a VHS-D OSHA shutoff valve as an option. We also have solenoid shutoff valves in our series as well as vacuum pressure, or excuse me, pressure sensors to monitor the pressure of the units downstream. As a complement to this, we also offer the AF, AM, AMD, AMK filters. This is in this lower left-hand picture here. And essentially, this is modular to the -D as well. It is coalescing filters or multi-stage filtration, available all the way down to odor removal. And these units are longer in body, but the port-to-port dimension is the same, so that particulate filter of 1 micron has the same flow of the AMK, which is essentially odor removal filter, and all the series in between have the same flow. So there is no reduction in flow regardless of the filtration level. And that's based on the filter being a longer body in the unit. So very, very constructive design there. And we've also recently introduced the ARM-D manifold regulators. Significance of this is that you can incorporate into the air prep unit manifold regulators, and what's not shown in this picture is that the porting on the back side of these regulators, or I should say the outlet is on the back of these regulators, so that you can have two inlets, both ends of a manifold of regulators, and have individual pressure control out the back. So that one of the advantages of the ejector style vacuum generators that I mentioned earlier is that you can control your vacuum pressure and therefore deformation of delicate parts by controlling your inlet pressure. Unlike a mechanical vacuum pump where you have to essentially bleed in atmospheric to lower your vacuum level, with an ejector style, be it single stage or multi-stage, you just control your inlet pressure and you can control essentially the strength of your pick on the vacuum side. So there are lots of significant advantages to these new offerings. Again, it wouldn't seem necessarily relevant to the robot cobot discussion, but it is an accessory and a complementary item that does really make the whole system more efficient overall. So that is about it from our side. I can hand the ball back to Josh to wrap things up. Thank you for joining.
Great, thanks, Joe. Awesome job, man. That was some great stuff. You know, I think a lot of people, they take the products that you guys make, the great quality products that you guys have made for many years, for granted. They don't realize that you're spending millions of dollars every year on R&D to refine, improve, and add additional options to the existing product lineup you have. So that was pretty impressive, especially the new filters that you guys are offering. So great, thank you. All right, so I see we're up against time here, so I'm just gonna bring this puppy home. I'm gonna wrap up here. Let's go slide. Hopefully you can all see that. So we just completed webinar number 2. The next one is exactly a week from today. It's the last one of the 3-part series, and the focus there will be on safety products. Given today's manufacturing environment, I'm sure all the companies that you may work for are concerned with safety and OSHA compliance. SMC does make a number of products that fit into that realm. Oh, hold on. There you go. Hopefully you guys can see that now. Can you see my screen now? Okay. So again, so Thursday, July 29th, the focus there will be on safety products. Tent shows. SMC does offer tent shows, free and on-site. Basically, the SMC will bring an actual mini panel trade show to your facility and show you some of the products that you may be interested in. It can be collaborative robot related. It can be related to other projects. Really just depends on what you're making and what you'd like to see. So we can come inside, we can go outside with it, we can bring lunch, whatever makes your employees comfortable with getting out and checking some product out. Okay, so there's the link right there, and again, we will send this to you so you can click the link and actually register. So I provided some useful links here as well, links directly to the product specifications. Please follow us on LinkedIn. We do have YouTube videos. This presentation will be uploaded to YouTube. My email address is there. You can absolutely reach out to me anytime, and we're happy to answer any questions you might have about today's presentation. One quick thing I did want to dive into as well today, if you guys can see my screen, is the eTools offering on SMC's website. If you go to smcusa.com and just go under help and support and click eTools, there's several great links and tools that you can use to pick product out on your own. I have a quick scroll through going here. Hopefully you can all see that. Basically, if you're not sure how big the valve is that you should be using, or you're not sure what size actuator you need, or maybe you want to configure a valve bank, you can actually go right in, click what series, and collect the information you need to place an order with your local distributor. And you can see here that I'm walking through the JSY series right now. There's several drop downs here. So if you have a challenge going through the catalog on your own, this makes it really easy to figure out exactly what would be right for your application. And again, let me click back here. Again, they have several tools: electric actuators, guided cylinders, regular actuators, even process valves. So they have some more theoretical stuff here, like piping pressure and moment of inertia. So if you don't want to do the hard math yourself or actually dive into the catalog yourself, this is a great a resource for customers. Very great. Let me click back over here. So that being said, guys, really appreciate you attending today. Thank you so much. I see we still have about 28 attendees on. Again, my name is Josh Baptist, Sales and Marketing Manager for Pearse Bertam Plus. This has been Joe and Nate Cogshell. For those of you who have already watched webinar number 1, feel free to click off at this point. I'm just going to go through some quick slides on Pearse Bertam Plus, just in case anyone missed it. Some people might be on the call, they weren't on the first one, and they're thinking to themselves, what is Pearse Bertam Plus? Like, what is the partnership there? Why does SMC even use distributors as part of their sales network? So I'm going to go over that again very quickly. It's just going to be a repeat of what I went through last time for those of you who might have been absent from the first presentation. So here at Pearse Bertam Plus, guys, we are a local SMC distributor headquartered in Bloomfield, Connecticut. We like to consider ourselves a one-stop shop for automation. We represent SMC, but we also represent several other lines all related to automation, whether that's hydraulics, pneumatics, electrical controls, whatever it may be. We like to say that we have a brand that can get the job done. We're about 43 employees, and we do have several certifications like ISO, UL. We take quality very seriously, and so we step up to the plate from a quality standpoint. We have complete New England sales coverage in terms of on-site sales engineers who can actually come and look at your application with you. If you are outside of the New England area, don't worry. SMC is a global corporation, and SMC does have reps all over the world who can come in and look at your application for you as well. So whether it's us or SMC, we can absolutely come in and put eyes on whatever it is you may be working on. We do have a significant amount of SMC in stock in New England, about $300,000 worth. So if there is a part, if there's a crunch you get into and you need to get something quick, or you want to stock something so you can get it just in time for your sourcing people, we can absolutely set something up like that for you as well. So again, we've been an SMC distributor for 10 plus years. I'm going to go through why that's important. There's several big reasons in terms of how a distributor adds value to a manufacturer. So as far as distribution goes, guys, we buy in huge bulk quantities, okay? So with SMC and with many other manufacturers, it's all about group buying. That's how you get the best discount, right? So by buying a ton of SMC, we get an extremely great discount from the factory, and we can essentially share that discount with anyone across our customer network, whether you're a smaller customer, big customer. So by coming to us versus someone like with MasterCar or Orange Coast Pneumatics, you're actually getting a more competitive price. Obviously, I mentioned before, we stock to cut lead times. So if there's something you're using on a regular basis, or maybe there's something you need in a jam, we can put stuff in stock for you. We can use our Kanban system, so you can get it either JIT, just in time, or we can always act as kind of that inventory buffer for your production process. I know supply chain issues have been hurting everyone lately, and by having that extra buffer, it can really prevent some of those issues. As far as person-to-person support goes, again, we are very customer-centered here at Pearse Bertam. To say we're obsessed with customer service would be putting it lightly. We really value and understand that we're in business to make sure our customers are happy, they understand the technology, and that we're getting them answers quickly. Pricing is important, quality is important, so we really try to put our best foot forward to make sure that our customers feel supported in these applications. So whether that's sending people on site to do a tent show, coming in and to look at your application, we actually allow on-site visits at our facility to understand our capabilities. Whatever it may be, we can come in, we can offer expertise, we can help pick out whatever it is you may need. And last but not least, we do offer turnkey contract manufacturing assembly services as well. So I will get into that on the next slide, but that is a great way to add value to the SMC product line. And last but not least, safety. Of course, everyone is concerned about safety with OSHA nowadays. So we sell several safety products that we can offer for your manufacturing operation to keep you safe, keep your employees safe. So if you would like us to come in and investigate what may be unsafe and give you our recommendations, we're happy to do that as well. So getting back to the contract manufacturing value add side of things, guys. So obviously as a manufacturer, SMC offers several products, actually several thousand products, all related to automation, pneumatics, electrical, actuators, chillers, things of that nature. But at the end of the day, you may need a more turnkey, complete solution that you can just pull off your dock, put into your process, and have it up and running without doing a ton of assembly or inspection. And that's where we can step in as a contract manufacturer. So we can actually take SMC product, we can take some of the other brands that we represent if necessary, and we can combine it to create a total solution. So for example, SMC may offer a great electronic regulator or a great valve bank. We can combine that with a PLC, some terminal blocks, an enclosure, and we can create a complete panel for you, an electrical control panel that you can literally take right from your shipping dock, put into your piece of equipment, and with very little setup time be up and running. We can inspect the entire thing, we can test the entire thing. Again, stocking, packaging. Several of our customers actually use us for what they call order fulfillment, where the product doesn't even come into their facility, it just goes directly to retail shelves. And so in that case, we can actually apply stickers, we can apply labels, we can put zip ties on things, we can put things in boxes, we can basically pretty it up and get it ready for a retail commercial environment. So really, guys, at the end of the day, what it is being able to bring value to the raw material or the raw individual off-the-shelf OTS components that SMC and other brands might offer. Again, highlights here, we do a lot with UL and ISO. We take quality very seriously. We have several experienced manufacturing personnel on staff, and we're always trying to improve that process. So whether you come in for a visit and inspect it for yourself and actually see what we do, or you go on our YouTube channel and take the virtual tour, we definitely invite you guys to come in and see the steps we're taking to improve our manufacturing processes. Just a few examples of some of the things we've done in the past involving SMC product. You can see on the left-hand side there, it's an air panel that we offer for one of our larger customers. Basically, in this case, they didn't have the staff, they were spiking, and they didn't have the capacity to manufacture something that they used in their machines on the regular. So we were able to offer our services and create a complete assembly for them. They were able to drop this right into their machine and be up and running without taking time away from their existing workforce. On the right-hand side, that is an example of a cooling manifold, a fluidic manifold using several SMC products. So we do get into larger process assemblies as well. So this is a case where the customer physically didn't have manufacturing space. They didn't have the room to actually make this product. So we were able to step in with our larger facility and offer that. Okay, so a manifold assembly here. This is a great example of SMC products. You can see we're using a few other products as well. We have a great network of machinists, anodizers, welders, plasma cutters. So even if your assembly requires something custom, like a custom, you can see in this case, it looks like a galvanized, looks like the galvanized steel panel there that we're mounting everything to. So whether it's a machine component, maybe it's a CNC machine component with actual threaded cavity, we can definitely handle that for you as well. Okay, and then last but not least, on the right-hand side, this is a great example of a pneumatic panel we did involving some SMC product and some Omron product. And you can see there we also have some Sprecher and Schuh Wago products in the upper right. So this is a blow-off panel we did for one of our OEM customers. In this case, it's offered as an accessory item to their product lineup. So this customer, they offer a specific machine in the market to their customers, and they were looking for accessories that they could use as add-ons to increase their profitability when selling these total systems. So we were able to help design and create a blow-off panel that's offered as an accessory item, which essentially increased their profit margin because now they can offer these add-ons to go with their standard product. And that is it. I'm getting back here to the other slide I already went over. So I will stop presenting. I will, okay. I will say thank you again to everyone who attended. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. My name is Josh Baptist. Again, thank you so much for your time. Anything else for you, Joe or Nate? Anything to add to what I just went through?
No, I think we're good from our standpoint here. We're happy to answer any questions.
Thanks.
Well, one question we had here that I figured we would circle around back to here is, and I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with the Fanuc product line. Me, myself, I'm not very familiar with Fanuc because we don't rep them. But we had a question here. are these valves for pneumatic applications? Oh, okay, sorry, we have two questions. So the first question is, can the IOLink products and some of your other products be used with the FANUC collaborative robots software and system, like the S6? Do you guys have any experience with using IOLink and FANUC together?
I don't personally. I do know that, like I explained in my portion of the presentation, IOLink is a standards-based product, so we would just have to verify what kind of IOLink master that they're using with that to tie. I'm assuming that they're looking to tie into their robot controller on the FANUC. As long as there's integration between the IOLink master that they have and the FANUC robot, there would be no reason I see why we would not be able to integrate our IOLink products into that platform.
Okay. Yeah, so Alejandro, I just went on to FANUC's website in the background here when you posted that question and did a little research. I'm not an expert, again, we don't rep FANUC, but it looks like FANUC does have the ability to communicate over an Ethernet IP network. So if that's the case, again, IOLink will work with a backend protocol like Ethernet IP or EtherCAT, something of that nature. Would that be fair to say, Nate?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would definitely
any other products. I mean, it's all dependent on what you're using for, a valve bank interface electrically, whether you wire that into a D-sub connector and then into an IO block or an IO card on the FANUC robot, or if you wire it into a field bus network. But there are multiple options for connecting our products to a FANUC robot in that way. So we would just need to look at the application specifics to determine what the best approach would be.
Yes, yeah, no, and SMC does work with FANUC quite often, Alejandro. So, I would definitely engage your FANUC rep, and he'll probably know in 2 seconds whether or not the FANUC robot can communicate like Nate was just describing. And then I do see here you also posted a question about the JSY series valves, and it looks like Joe or Nate may have answered that already. But yes, absolutely. As a company, Pearse Plus represents several lines, and we do have products that can handle fluids if you're using water or oil or some other type of fluid. I believe their VXD and VXZ series from SMC can handle oils and water and other types of fluids. So the JSY series, specifically the manifolded bank valves, those are definitely meant for air and inert fluids, inert gases. But SMC and other brands that Pearse Plus represents will have products for fluid. So if you want to reach out, we're happy to help pick something out for you. Alrighty. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks everyone who's still on the call. We will see you at webinar number 3. I'm going to go ahead and end things now. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Josh.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.